Well, hello there, Elizabeth Hines here from our Paleo family and the Autoimmune Free Cooking Club. And today we are making jalapeno popper soup, chicken jalapeno popper soup. So it's a complete meal with good protein in there. This is a, let's say paleo. To me, paleo is very, just real whole ingredients, grain-free, dairy-free. And to make something like a jalapeno popper, which is really full of cheese, in the paleo way, dairy-free, we're using this Kite Hill almond cream cheese spread instead of regular cream cheese. And it does have xanthan gum and guar gum, which guar gum, my functional medicine doctor has kind of given me the okay on guar gum. Xanthan gum is not ideal, and it is the, it's almond milk, salt enzyme, xanthan gum. So, it's getting that cream cheesy texture, so I do think there's probably a decent amount of it in there. So that's not an ideal ingredient. Another way, if you don't want to use that for your dairy alternative, you can use a can of full-fat coconut milk. It will give you the creaminess. And then get the thickening by using some sort of thickener, arrowroot, tapioca starch, the glucomannan powder, and some of the cheesiness you can get from nutritional yeast. So there are different options for different dietary needs, but this will be gluten-free, dairy-free, super duper flavorful. I just realized I don't have my jalapenos. I need my jalapenos for jalapeno popper chicken. So my recipe calls for 4 slices of bacon. That was super thick, so I did only 3. So I have that on saute, and I'm gonna render that down. I'm actually going to take the bacon out. You don't have to do that. You can just cook your soup with the bacon in, but I like it to be crispy when I serve it. So I'm going to take it out, drain it, and put it in the fridge, and then I will give everybody a little bacon on top of their soup. But I'm going to cook the rest of my bacon's not a vegetable. Wouldn't it be great if bacon was a vegetable? I'm going to cook my actual vegetables in the bacon fat. And as for vegetables, you can add a lot of different ones. These are veggies for flavor and also, of course, their nutritional content, but they will withstand the long cooking time. I'm using the slow cooker function today. You could just as easily do this with the pressure function, and it's chicken breast, so if your chicken is thawed, 10 to 12 minutes. If your chicken is frozen, 20 minutes. And then you have supper done. If you count this prep time, 30 minutes total. But it's very cold outside. Now that it's cold, I could eat soup every day. I love soup. Just made a new batch of broth yesterday, so we can have lots and lots of soup. Of course, we need some of that for our Thanksgiving recipes, but you can do so much with soup. So many different flavors, and you can sneak lots of vegetables in if you have people in your house who don't really like vegetables. What I was saying with this, I've got peppers, celery, carrots, and onions. You could add squash, you could add mushrooms, you could add some root vegetables. You want to add a rutabaga or something like that. Go for it. That would actually be good if you wanted to add some root veggies. You could get some of the thickening kind of creaminess in your soup from that. You know what? Usually, sorry, I knew that's loud. Usually I'll saute on more that they're high, and it's just fine. But because this bacon is so thick, I don't know why these bacon people are not saying on their packages that it used to say thick cut or just like regular. But this is the second package I've purchased recently that the bacon has been super thick, and it says nowhere on the package that it is thick. But those pieces are so big, I was afraid it was going to burn before it was really cooked properly. So I turned that down to the normal setting. So you can see here I have 3 bell pepper halves. You can use 1 whole bell pepper. You can use 2 whole bell peppers. You could use 3 if you wanted. It doesn't really matter. That's another thing I love about soup is it's so flexible. You can really adapt. But I like those, these are called stoplight peppers. You've got the red, the yellow, and the orange. It should be green really if they're stoplight peppers. But anywho, 3 colors of bell peppers in one package. And so I just use a half of each one. And then I have another recipe later in the week with the other halves. It's just 1 large carrot. You could put in more carrots. You could easily double this recipe to suit your family. That is a rather large package of chicken. This is that organic chicken from Costco. This one is probably 1.5 pounds. My aprons all need to be washed. I'm sorry if that's something that you notice and it bothers you. I apologize. They need to go in the wash. But they're hanging in my kitchen. My laundry is upstairs, so I don't think about them when I'm upstairs doing laundry. I think about them when I'm downstairs cooking, and I forget to carry them up. So I've taken to writing things on my hand. That's how bad it's gotten lately. That's how I'm remembering things, is writing on my hand. I need to write aprons on my hands so I remember to take them up and wash them. These are really clean. Sometimes the celery is really awful. Very dirty. I mean, I wash it, of course, but sometimes it's just black from so much mess. So I was just talking to my sister-in-law last week, and she validated something that I've been saying about the Instant Pot and the slow cooker function. So she was talking about using her slow cooker or crock pot to make meals, and she works, and she has a long commute, source away from home. And she said most slow cooker recipes she can't do because they're either 4 or 6 hours, and she needs more like 8 to 10 hours. And so I was telling her about the Instant Pot. The Instant Pot slow cooker function is great, but it is low power. It is not as powerful as your standalone crock pot or slow cooker. So for someone like my sister-in-law who really needs, if a slow cook recipe, she's going to use a slow cook recipe, it needs to be 8 to 10 hours or maybe even a little bit longer on some days. The Instant Pot would be great for her because it is not as hot. So that's definitely an advantage. It is 12 and I'm getting this going for supper tonight. My chicken is frozen. I'm going to cook it on slow cook more, the high version of slow cook, and it'll have about 5.5 hours. And that'll be just right. If my chicken were thawed, it would not take that long. I'm going to swap this out. I put in if I'm ever cooking with cream, like a hot thing like this with cream cheese or this almond cream cheese, I put it in at the end just because it tends to separate and it doesn't need to cook or anything. So I just think it works better. You get a better finished product if you just stir this in at the end. So my soup is going to cook for about 5 hours. I'm going to get out my hand mixer and shred my chicken. That's just the easiest way I have found. You can take your 2 forks down in there and shred it, but if you have a hand mixer, that's much easier. An immersion blender might get it a little too blended up, but a hand mixer will actually shred the chicken. So I'm going to shred my chicken, and then I will stir in my cream cheese. We'll garnish with the bacon, and I have some chives. You could garnish with additional jalapeños if you like. So I'm going to put this in and get out my jalapeños. This will be a good keto soup if you're following the keto diet, a ketogenic diet, because it's very, very low carb. This is basically our carbohydrates right here of these vegetables, and they're definitely more in the non-starchy vegetable category, except for the onions. So this would be great for keto, if that's you. I need to confirm the cream cheese. Let me look it up. I was just wondering about the almond cream cheese. I know traditional cream cheese is free of carbohydrates, or almost entirely free of carbohydrates. That one does have 2 grams of carbs per 2 tablespoon serving. So that's probably about what you get. Maybe a serving and a half, you know, imagining that distributed throughout the soup. So less than 5 grams of carbs. So no problem at all if you're following keto. So I've got my slotted spoon so I can just fish out my bacon. This bacon is actually delicious. They had it on sale at Whole Foods last week, which is why I picked it up. And it's not a brand I typically buy. Their bacon, I buy other things from this brand. I'll tell you what it is in just a second. Now I have forgotten. There's a good amount of grease in here. You really want 2 to 3 tablespoons for this recipe, and 1/3 of a cup. I'm going to pour some of it out. I want to see how close I was. See how close my estimation was. Just 1/4 of a cup. So pour about half of that back in. And then in go my veggies. I'm just going to put all these in at once. So I like bell peppers in this soup because, you know, I have children. Well, I don't have children. I have teenagers now. They're both officially teenagers. But they don't like things super spicy. I don't like things super spicy. That's 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So it lets us have some of that pepper flavor without having to entirely be the jalapeños and being too spicy. So my spices are salt and oregano, cumin, and paprika, and really just a little, 1/4 of a teaspoon of each, I think is just right. Some people love cumin and might want to add more. It's totally fine, make it your own. Typically with herbs I add a little more than that, but I really thought that 1/4 of a teaspoon was just right. Oh, the bacon is Welsher. I need to see if it says on here someplace that it is thick, and it surely does not. It doesn't. So let this cook down while I cut my chicken. I just think it's easier to deal with the whole thing, your soup, blending it up, or shredding your chicken later. If you cut it into like bite-sized pieces, it'll cook faster and just be easier to manage. Then you wouldn't even have to chop it if you didn't want to. Let me get rid of this. Because my chicken is really frozen, I just got it out of the freezer this morning. I won't be cutting it, you know, according to the actual pieces of chicken. Slicing it like a roast. Whew. It's weird, huh? So I'm working on an online course for people with Crohn's disease and colitis, which, you know, that's what I have. I have Crohn's, but anybody with any autoimmune disease will be welcome to take the course, because really the way it works in the body is the same way, but your experience with the disease is unique to the disease. So I'm focusing on Crohn's, but anyway, my point in telling you this is I'm working on it now. I'm going through the process of building the course, and there's so much information that I could provide, and naturally I want to provide coaching, because I'm a functional medicine health coach, I recognize the value in that part of the process. It's key, actually. But there's so much other information. I think I've gotten kind of bogged down in what do I put in this course. And I have a business coach, and I was listening to a talk that she gave this week, and her question was, what are you able to provide? And I thought, gosh, okay, well, what can I provide that's different from what other people in this space are already providing? Or, what are other people's giftings or skills they're providing that I can't provide? And I thought the first thing that came to my mind was, I can provide hope. I think I'm on these Facebook groups for people with Crohn's disease, and they are hopeless. They're in the midst of it. They're suffering. Maybe they're newly diagnosed. Maybe they've had it for a long time. There are lots of people in these groups, and hopeless. They feel tied down and trapped. And I thought, wow, okay, so now I'm so excited because I feel like I have this focus now. Yes, I need to provide some of the facts, some of the nitty-gritty. How do you go about starting to manage this potentially really awful disease as naturally as possible? And so how do you go about that day to day? But having that mental piece of the hopefulness that it is possible, that you can get out of the kind of the mire of where you are. That just made me think of when my kids were little. We have like a children's church. During the sermon, the children can go and have their own sort of mini church service, and we played these songs. I can't sing a note, but somehow I got roped into leading the worship portion for a while. And they were the Seeds. So maybe some of you know Seeds. And it's just songs, scripture put to song. And one of my favorites was, I'm pretty sure it's a psalm, and how God lifts you out of the muck and the mire. And I thought about that. I was like, when you are bogged down with this disease, you are in the muck and the mire. And God says He'll pull you out of it. And I would like to help pull people out of it. So anyway, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm still building that course, but just kind of the thought process, what's been going through my mind lately. So my veggies are softening. They're fine. There's a teeny bit of color on there. What I really wanted to happen was the liquid to start cooking out of the vegetables enough to deglaze my pan from the bacon. And that has happened. So my chicken is going in. I've been waiting to wash my hands. So I'm anxious to get this in there and wash my hands. Anytime I've got raw chicken, I really want to wipe things down with an antibacterial wipe. So I'm going to stir that around. I'm going to get my jalapeños in. I'm going to get my broth in. And then that's it. Usually I add some kind of thickener, and I don't have that on my recipe, so I'm trusting that there's no thickener. I didn't just forget that piece. So I want 3 tablespoons of jalapeños, the kind in brine. So I grew mine this year. Well, that was 1.5 tablespoons, so I need 2 of these. This was just the right spiciness for us. Like I said, you can garnish with extra if you want. Let me show you the kind from the store if you don't happen to have your own. This is the brand Mount Olive. I mean, these are actually made in North Carolina, but I believe you can find these anywhere. But something like this, they'll just be diced jalapeno peppers, but you want your ingredients to include vinegar. So jalapeno peppers, water, vinegar, salt. These had onions and garlic. So that's what you want. There'll be a lot of the brine in there, so just scoop up the peppers and the brine. As a matter of fact, at the end, sometimes I'll even add in a little extra of the brine because it's that sort of salty, vinegary flavor. It's delicious. Okay, that spoon is all raw chickeny, so that's going over here. This is my broth, which is about 2 cups. A little more or a little less will not make one bit of difference. And I'm going to get a rubber spatula and just get all these ingredients down in the broth. There we go. And now, this is one of the benefits of using the slow cooker, in my mind, is that you get to smell it all day long. So, I have it on slow cook. I hit the adjust button to get it adjust up to more. I know the new ones are slightly different, but I think they're basically the same. And then the plus buttons are the time. So when I hit slow cook, it was at 4.5 hours. And every time you hit this, it'll go up or down 30 minutes. But with the slow cooker, it's just this glass lid, and you can take it on and off and check on it and stir it and taste it and season it or whatever. It's not like the pressure cook where you'd have to let the pressure out and then open it and then repressurize. No, it's very simple. So if you work from home, or you're somebody like maybe you work close to home and you can run home at lunchtime, or you have some flexibility in your day, the slow cooker is really great. I didn't use it for a long time, and now that I've gotten used to it and kind of figured out how long it takes to use it, I really love it. So for example, we're going to have about 5.5 hours till dinner. That would be cutting it close if I were going to use chicken thighs, because chicken thighs I really want to cook a long time. Or a roast, like a big beef roast, that wouldn't be enough time. It's just not powerful enough, whereas in your standalone slow cooker, you could put it on high and you could cook a roast in 4 to 5 hours. But it's super great for soup, things like taco filling, enchilada filling, something like that, where you can just make it when you have time, put it on slow cook, low or normal, and let it just kind of simmer away until you're ready to eat. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put my bacon in the fridge. I'm going to stick it in a baggie, or just wrap that up. I'll store the rest of my bacon fat, and then I'll stir in that cream cheese. I'll shred my chicken and stir in the cream cheese. Of course, I'll show you that. The lighting will be different because it'll be dark by then, because it's the end of November, or middle of November. But I'll be back to show you the finishing up process in about 5 hours. Hey there, welcome back. Let me show you how we finish up this soup. So, it smells so good. I'm anxious to eat supper. That's part of how I make it through kind of following a special diet, especially if I'm ever doing something like an elimination diet, a Whole30, something like that. It's just having meals to look forward to, meals that I really am going to enjoy. And if you are looking forward to it and it smells good and you get to smell it all day, that's even better. A little piece of that plastic is in my way. Okay, so I told you I use my hand mixer to shred my chicken. So just put it in, usually just on the very lowest settings, maybe. This one has 9 settings, so 1 or 2. And it is enough to shred white meat chicken really easily. I don't think I've ever tried it with chicken thighs. I suspect it would work. It's not going to totally blend up all my vegetables, but it'll shred my chicken, which I cut it into chunks. You saw me do that, so that makes it easier as well. When you shred the chicken, it will thicken up your soup, because instead of being big chunks, it's all those little tiny pieces, and it kind of gives that illusion is not quite the right word, but I think that lets you know what I mean. It gives you that feeling of it being thicker, which is nice. I like a creamy, thick soup. There are a couple little chunks in there. See if I can catch all of them. There we go. And then I take this entire package, Kite Hill, almond, cream cheese. And you know what? Since I have it right here, I'm gonna use my mixer to just blend that in. Otherwise, I would use a whisk to just kind of break that up. Whether you're using regular cream cheese or a dairy-free version. And remember, we have our bacon in the fridge that I made earlier, so I will just heat that up in the skillet for a second so it's hot. Well, not 1 second, but it'll probably take just like a minute to heat up the bacon. Let me turn that up. Ooh, 2 was good. And then also I have some fresh chives that I'll snip and put on top. Let's give this a stir. Put a little chunk of the cream cheese in there. So now this has less than an hour to cook, and it would be ready. We could eat it right now, but it'll be fine. You know, I talked about not adding the cream cheese early so it doesn't separate. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, and I didn't want it to cook all day in there, but this is a short amount of time. It will be fine. I'm going to give her a taste for seasoning. Ooh, that was a little bit of a hot bite. That's good. Might be a little too spicy for my daughter, in which case I'm sure I could convince her to eat something else. She's generally happy to have some, you know, typical lunch food, lunch meat, something like that. She's sitting in the other room, so she knows I'm talking about her. That's just right for my husband and my son and I. I'll go ahead and dish it up and show you what it looks like. Now, if you wanted your soup to have a little more thickness to it, you could certainly take a little bit out, add a little arrowroot, tapioca, glucomannan, one of those thickeners, one of those grain-free thickeners, stir that up and pour it in and it would thicken up. But this is great for me. So here's our bacon. Just a little bit on top. And then, thankfully, I planted these chives years ago and they survived the winter. Or at least they have for years and years and years. So, I've got those in the backyard all the time. And here we go. There's our jalapeno popper chicken soup. So we just put the chicken in, so it's a complete meal. If you wanted to just make it jalapeno popper soup, you could leave the chicken out. You can maybe grill some chicken, serve that on the side, have a little bowl of soup. But I love a all-in-one meal. You might think this is crazy. I think it sounds a little bit crazy. When I made this the first time, I was practicing my bread recipes. I was trying to get a good paleo bread recipe. And so we had garlic bread with this, which of course everybody loved. It was great. And my husband said, "Are we going to have garlic bread tonight?" And I said, "No." And I've been making, it's the middle of November, and I've been making all the Thanksgiving videos for you. And so we have dressing. We have leftover dressing in the fridge. And he's like, "Oh, we could have some dressing with it." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of strange." But you know how dressing was mostly bread, right? It kind of sets up. And so I thought, well, maybe I can cut it into cubes and saute them in a pan and make sort of like croutons. So he's going to get some dressing croutons on top of his soup. I don't know that the rest of us will eat that. But let me give this a taste with the bacon and the chives. I love it. Ooh, the bacon is so good. It's really, really good. This is super easy. You could pressure cook it. You could slow cook it. Either way, very adaptable. I hope you made this one. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you leave a comment. Let me know who you are, where you are, why you're here. I'd love to get to know you a little bit. Consider subscribing. Hit that little bell so you'll get notified when I release a new video, which, unless it's a special occasion like the week before Thanksgiving, I'm publishing a lot of recipes. It's every Wednesday, a new video should go up. So be on the lookout for that. All right, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.